Hey everybody, it's Brian over at Showcase Agency. And if you're thinking about buying your first home, there's probably a lot of questions that you ought to be asking yourself. So this is what we consider step one of the process, where you're basically trying to figure out if you should actually buy now or wait and just keep renting. So here are some of the questions that you should be asking yourself. Number one, how much is your total cash out of pocket going to be? So we're not just talking about your down payment, but what are you going to need out of pocket also for your closing cost and for what's called your impounds and what's called your prepaid. So that's a great question to ask when you're trying to decide if you should buy or just keep renting. Another one, does the payment that you're being quoted or the payment that you're considering, does that include the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance? And if you're looking at a home that has a homeowners association, are you including the monthly HOA fee in that payment? Another thing to ask yourself, are you really going to be okay with the distance of that home to your work, or that distance of the home to your daycare or your other family or friends that you like to do things with? We're seeing a lot more people moving further and further out because there's more remote work where people are working from home, so it doesn't matter where they live. And we're also seeing more and more people go further out just because that's where they can find a home that they actually can afford. So that's another thing to ask. Also, what are you looking for? A fixer-upper, or are you looking for something move-in ready? Another good thing to ask yourself. And then once you figure out the payment that you're comfortable with and the price that goes along with that payment, and you're looking at the homes that are in that price range, do you even like any of those homes? If you do, great. If you don't, then maybe just renting is going to be the thing for you to do. Another thing, how long do you plan to keep the home? That's going to also be very important. If you're only going to keep the house for a year or two because you're planning to move, you're planning to transfer out of state or whatever, then you may want to reconsider buying, because it might make more sense for you just to keep renting if you're going to sell in a year or two. Another thing is, are you okay with the bigger commitment? Because renting is or owning is a much bigger commitment than renting. You're responsible for the repairs and the upkeep and all those different things. And if you decide you don't like it, there's a lot more to getting rid of the home than it is when you decide that you don't like where you live and you're renting, where you can just wait for the lease or you can break the lease or whatever. So we've put together 20 questions that you should ask yourself in this beginning stage when you're trying to figure out if you should rent or buy. And we call this the wait or buy cheat sheet. And you can get a copy for free just by texting renting to 949-518-0742. And we've also included this list in our buyer's guide, and you can get a free copy there at showcasefreeguide.com.